I read lots of different articles from lots of different sources from all sides of politics. I like to know what everyone is thinking, whether I agree with them or not. One of the more left-leaning sources that I read occasionally is the Saturday paper. They publish articles such as The Streaming Industry's Role in the Climate Crisis, where they highlight the huge number of computer servers required to host every song ever created, which are responsible for a profound level of carbon emissions. So everybody, you've got to stop listening to music, okay? Best architecture, diversity, quality and inventiveness on display. The provision of climate-responsive and culturally sensitive housing for Indigenous students in Darwin. Here I was thinking that people just wanted a roof over their head, but apparently architecture has to be culturally sensitive. Here's just one more idealistic, overly academic, dare I say, pretentious quotation from the article. A superb example of sensitive site-specific design informed by respectful collaboration with traditional owners and understanding of country, resulting in two cliff-edge viewing platforms with an exquisite level of formal resolution. F*** me. They don't like Opposition Leader Peter Dutton. Dutton's set to revive Indigenous placenames fight. Peter Dutton ends the year with detailed plans to wind back reconciliation, peppering departments with questions about the cost of welcomes to country and promising to scrap flags, dual names and the ambassador for First Nations people. In this article by Voice to Parliament Yes campaign leader Thomas Mayo, young men and the far-right's influence on them. Guess who one of the far-right influences is? Peter Dutton. The Liberals and Nationals have become bereft of true centrists, lurching ever further to the far right under Opposition Leader Peter Dutton. Indigenous Australians who overwhelmingly voted yes in the referendum can attest to their cruelty. Now Dutton disrespects the Aboriginal flag, saying that if he is Prime Minister, he will not stand to have it displayed behind him. Their politics is radical and reactionary. You may remember anthropologist and geographer Professor Marcia Langton from last year's disastrous Indigenous Voice campaign. She was the one that essentially called anybody voting no racist, although she denies the claim, saying that her comments had been misreported. Specifically, she said, every time the no case raises one of their arguments, if you start pulling it apart, you get down to base racism. I'm sorry to say it, but that's where it lands, or just sheer stupidity. She also said in another interview, then there's the hard no voters, and I'm hoping that they are about 20%. And they are the ones who are spewing the racism. Here's AI's interpretation of that statement, spewing the racism. She claimed that she wasn't calling no voters racist per se, but rather the tactics used by the no campaign as racist. I'll let you judge for yourself. Either way, you would think that she would have learnt that labelling people or campaigns as racist is not the best way to win people over. Actually, it probably turns many people off. But despite the massive voice defeat, in this article that I mentioned earlier from the Saturday paper, she continues her racist labelling diatribe. It's like every other day we get a sugar hit of racism. Look at us, we're going to cause this much harm to Aborigines. Oh, we're going to take away their self-esteem by removing flags. We want Australia under one flag. Well, that's the One Nation policy, so they've moved so far to the right and to right-wing propaganda, it's difficult to take any of it seriously. These are not actual nation-building policies, they're sugar-hit propaganda announcements. Nobody's mortgage is going to be reduced by these measures. Nobody's cost of living is going to come down by these measures. It costs nothing to stand in front of an Aboriginal flag. In fact, it gives the nation hope that there is an end to the vicious racism against Aboriginal people. It gives Aboriginal people hope and the 6 million Australians who voted yes, who want a cohesive society, who want rid of racism. Interestingly, she doesn't stand with the likes of Senator Fatima Payman, who often wears a joint Aboriginal and Palestinian flag pin, and Senator Lydia Thorpe, who is in permanent activist mode with her Black Sovereign movement. In the Australian last year, Jews and Palestinians deserve Indigenous respect, says Marcia Langton. She wrote, "The loss of thousands of lives in Gaza is unjustifiable. I condemn Hamas. I'm horrified and deeply saddened by the loss of lives in the Levant." As an Indigenous Australian, I can have little effect in stopping these horrors, but it is necessary to be clear about a few matters. Black sovereignty advocates have entwined two extraordinary propositions, one that is simply untrue and one that is a moral outrage. First, they claim that Indigenous Australians feel solidarity with Palestinians. This is false. It is the view of a tiny few. Second, they refuse to condemn Hamas. I'm aghast and embarrassed. They do not speak for me. Our Jewish and Palestinian communities deserve respect and compassion. I do not support the violence we have seen in Australia recently as a result of this conflict. Hamas are terrorists. Palestinian Islamic Jihad are terrorists. The slogan, "Not all Palestinians are Hamas," denies the fact that innocent Palestinians are being used as human shields by these terrorists. Former Labor Senator Nova Peris has also criticised the use of the Aboriginal flag at pro-Palestinian marches, with Peter Dutton not wanting to stand in front of it, and many Aboriginal commentators not wanting the flag to be associated with anti-Israel or anti-Jewish sentiment. It seems like the Aboriginal flag has become a real political football. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that Peter Dutton is racist, because Marcia Langton and Thomas Mayo said so. My advice would be, if Peter Dutton is truly racist, then you don't need to say anything. It should be immediately apparent. But calling people racist, or insinuating that people are racist, just doesn't win you any supporters. We saw that in the failed Voice campaign. It just causes defensiveness, a hostile environment. It can contribute to increased polarization, making constructive conversations about race and discrimination even more difficult. And it dilutes the word's meaning, making it less impactful when addressing genuine cases of racism. Basically, overusing this word is not only stupid, it's ineffective.